course. Wake the dead.
Wake the dead! Wake the dead!
With Sean McCann.
Greetings. Welcome to Wake the Dead. Today, we are very happy to have first-time guest, Sam Kelly. Welcome, Sam. Hello.
It is good to be here. Yeah.
Awesome. We're very glad to have you. And I'm delighted to speak with you about your new work that you have published. It's a book titled Human History on Drugs. And this here is the title. And it's, I was just remarking about how eye-catching the cover and the presentation of the book is just phenomenal. The way that you have these little vignettes of Van Gogh eating yellow paint and stuff. And these,
oh yeah,
I mean,
the pictures are such a highlight. The artist I hired to do that, a guy named Paul Girard, just did a brilliant job. I had like, okay, can you draw? And I'd have all these wacky ideas, and he'd be like, sure, how about this? And I'd see it, and I'd be like, either like, that is amazing, no notes, or I'd be like a few notes, but otherwise, yeah, that is pretty much exactly what I was thinking of. Great work. And so it really brings it, it adds so much charm and so much flair to the book.
Yes. Yeah. This is really, I mean, like to have it on the table and to have it like it's the color, and it's a nonfiction book, but it catches your attention and it grabs it and makes you want to keep turning the page. So I just love it, and I like the topic too, because excuse me, sorry, I didn't mute that thing. The topic of human history is like understanding ourselves and understanding our mind, and like, to think that humans were not using drugs all through history is just absurd. You know?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, I definitely felt like, certainly growing up and in school, people seemed to have this sort of like general pop culture idea. They'd act like one day in the 1960s, drugs magically appeared out of nowhere and people just started doing them. And there would just seem to be this very ahistorical view of that. And I look back at things in history and say, well, no, clearly the effects of people being on drugs, I get the sense they're not really teaching us about it in like the average school curriculum, because I can understand maybe there's parents who were like, I don't want you teaching my kids that such and such famous person was a big drug user, or like there would be complaints about it. So it's not the kind of thing that in a mainstream educational facility you would often hear about. But there's so many fun things in history that are a little bit like, maybe the stories are off color, but they're true. They're true and they're fascinating. And so it's hard to cover them in a classroom, but you wish that they could be covered in a classroom because they're so fascinating.
I believe they should be covered in a classroom.
Yeah.
I mean, because it shows us what the potential of the human brain and the ingenuity and art, like creation. You get
definitely
some of these, some of these people that you highlight in the book, like Bill W. Like there would be no AA. If if it wasn't for LSD, right? I mean,
it's that, but even more so because Bill W. He ends up becoming into LSD later in his life because he feels like it sort of recreates what he perceived as a connection with a higher power that became so fundamental to his ideas. But the first time that he had that experience, so he tried to so he had a drinking problem, and he tried to get clean a number of times, but would always start drinking again. So eventually he goes to this weird experimental doctor who tries this therapy where he gives him this combination of like I think there was like some deadly nightshade in there, and like just all kinds of crazy substances that were basically calculated to make him puke and purge. So coming out both ends for about 50 hours on the hour. And while he's having that crazy experience where he's been deliberately poisoned, but in a way that's supposed to purge all the stuff out of him, he feels like he believes that he has a divine revelation while he's in this out of his mind state. And that is what he believes it means to turn yourself over to a higher power. So he tries LSD, and he's like, this is sort of like the spiritual connection I felt, but with less of the vomiting and less diarrhea, you know? But the people at AA, they're thinking, wait, aren't we supposed to be like a not doing stuff? It's like you want to give people who have addiction problems, you want them to be trying this LSD. And so he's like, no, I think this could actually work. It's not like it's the same, but they were just like, no substances. And so he had to step back from the organization because they were not willing to take that step.
It's crazy because they're just doing coffee and cigarettes like crazy when in between. You know what I mean? Like, have you ever been
that is one of the ironic things. That is the combination of like, you should not be using another substance to help you quit. Also, everybody smokes and drinks coffee all the time.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and then they all like California sober too, where they do the.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of. There's a lot of. Again, he's definitely coming much more from. He believed that he had a divine revelation. He wasn't actually like a medical doctor.
Of course.
Yeah.
But I mean, he has a brain and a consciousness like we all do, you know? And I think that there's a fundamental difference between, to class all drugs together is kind of wrong. It's like
it definitely is a big conflation.
And like, but the difference between LSD and alcohol are like night and day.
Yeah.
People that are drunk can't hang out with people that are tripping. It just does not work. They don't. They hate each other.
I mean, the vibes definitely get very different. Certainly the range of things that can be qualified as drugs is such a vast range with so many different, like both the intensity of the effects and what specifically they do. It is so wide and varied that one of the big messages of my book as a whole is that drugs as a category are tools. They're not inherently good or bad. It's about how you use them.
Right.
And so, and again, there's all kinds of tools in the world. I mean, a chainsaw is a tool and a butter knife is a tool, but it is way easier to mess someone up with a chainsaw than it is with a butter knife. But that doesn't mean they don't have perfectly valid applications when used properly and responsibility. Exactly. It's just a little bit easier to get out of hand with a tool like a chainsaw.
Right. And when you're trying to quit a hard drug like alcohol, sometimes you need the chainsaw of hallucinogens. You need ibogaine to really cut it away and hack it.
I've heard about that. Yeah, people go on all these different pathways to try and find a better way of being, to find a more sustainable state of existence. And so, I definitely found in the book people try all sorts of things. Some things work better than the others. Like one idea that, so Freud is in my book, right? And Freud was super into cocaine. So Freud at the time, cocaine was considered like it was a novelty, right? They'd recently figured out how to get cocaine in powder form as a concentrated product. So it wasn't even illegal yet. It was seen as like a medical curiosity in Europe. So for about 12 years, Freud constantly had cocaine, and a lot of the time, he didn't have to pay for it. He could just write to pharmaceutical companies and say, hello, I'm a respected member of the Viennese medical community. Can I please have some free samples of your product? And they would just give him medical-grade cocaine for free.
Isn't that great?
So
it's great to be a doctor. It's good.
Right? And so Freud ends up believing, because he constantly has cocaine, that cocaine isn't addictive. So at one point, he tries to help a guy quit morphine addiction by replacing it all with cocaine and then suddenly discontinuing the cocaine. It goes terribly. That guy like goes insane and dies later, I think. But well, I mean, technically everyone dies eventually, but you know,
yes, exactly.
But yeah, no, it definitely it wasn't a good idea. But like, so certainly that idea is. Some regimens of substitution go a lot better than others.
Right. Yeah. Heroin was invented by Bayer to get people off of morphine.
Yeah, they thought it would be less addictive than heroin. Right. You know, it's like,
just
hey,
more pure is the better. How you?
It's like, look, I mean, I'm pretty sure that initially some of the marketing was just like, hey, it's non-addictive, safe for children, like stuff like that. You know.
Just like they did with the oxys and the whole thing.
Oh yeah, no, it's amazing how things get marketed when they're like new on the market, especially in times before there's like laws trying to prevent people from just selling whatever they want. Certainly, there are drugs that are mentioned in my book that are plenty of people did them, but they are not considered to have any medical value nowadays. Like one of the early ones in my book, the first emperor of China, Qin Shi Huangdi, he died because he drank an elixir made with mercury because he believed it would enable him to live forever. So, I mean, mercury, it's fascinating, right? It is a metal that's a liquid at room temperature. It's cool looking. And I guess like a bunch of ancient Chinese alchemists were of the theory that this is so cool, it has to have some kind of magical powers or something. I mean, like, we don't know exactly what it does, but I'm sure we'll figure it out.
It's cool, though. It's like, really cool.
Nothing this awesome cannot have incredible abilities. And so they keep thinking it's like, well, a bunch of people get poisoned after they drink these elixirs, but maybe we got the dosages wrong. Maybe we mixed it with the wrong stuff, you know? And so Qin Shi Huangdi...
You gotta trust the science. Yeah. You gotta trust the science.
He dies from that stuff.
Right.
And then even after that, they're like, listen, I'm sure that... So there's actually a whole... I remember on Wikipedia, there was an entire list of... It was like, list of people who died from Chinese alchemical elixir poisoning. And it's all these people drinking mercury potions, like emperors, high-level officials, because that was such a common belief that mercury had medical value. And then it turns out, no, it's really cool looking, but also insanely hazardous to human health. Right.
And now the Satanists, they like, ooh, this mercury is insanely hazardous to human health. Let's put it in everything. You know, let's spray it on them from above. Like, oh man.
Yeah, but no, but yeah, but they can't open his tomb because in addition to the mercury he just loved mercury. He thought it was super cool. And so in addition to having the mercury pills, he also in his tomb had like water features, but with mercury installed. So there was like a river and a pool of mercury. And so now there are so many accumulated fumes of mercury inside that burial chamber that if they crack it open, I mean, they've opened the part of the tomb that had the terracotta warriors, but the part of that part of the tomb, if they try to open it, the fumes will go up over the countryside and cause a mass fatality event. So they can never open it.
Wow. I wonder if they could like tap that gas and use it somehow for like powering something, or
maybe.
I'm
not sure it actually does anything besides like kill people though.
Just kill people. Well, that's probably what they'll use it for then.
I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Oh, so like that is crazy. Are there any other ones that are like as like that shocked you as much as like someone drinking mercury? I mean, they had cinnabar there in China too. That's also very poisonous. Super poisonous, right? They were making the fine sculptures out of that stuff. It's really
yeah. I mean, one thing that so when I first heard about it, I actually thought it was a mean-spirited joke at first. But so Van Gogh ate paint. Like when I first heard that Vincent Van Gogh ate paint, I thought it's like, oh, okay, I get it. He's the guy who was crazy enough to cut his own ear off in a fit of rage. So it's like, that's kind of mean, guys. But then I look it up and it's like the first thing that I find is the Van Gogh Museum in Amsterdam. And they say, so I've heard that Van Gogh ate paint. Is this true? And they're like, yes, Van Gogh ate a lot of paint. His favorite kind of paint to eat was yellow paint. Also, you may notice there's a ton of yellow paint in Van Gogh's art. Like these things aren't coincidences. He just had all this yellow paint, which apparently Van Gogh he definitely had a lot of mental issues going on to begin with. But he probably had like
the metal poisoning.
Oh yeah, but then that would just make it worse. So like he was already troubled to begin with, because generally speaking, a mentally healthy person probably is not going to start eating paint, especially back in a day when again, I think it was
they lick the brush, they do the paint. I mean, they mix the paint, they get it on their fingers,
you start out small, but by the time that you get to like the Winnie the Pooh sticking honey out of a jar level, that's I don't know.
There you go. It really helped his art, though. It really.
He had. But yeah, no. So Van Gogh, he probably had like pica, right, which is a condition where where people feel compelled to eat things that aren't food, and apparently there's these crazy powerful terpenes, right? Organic smell compounds that were in that yellow paint, and apparently he found that intoxicating.
Like flowers,
and he wanted to have it like inside of him, and so he would ingest the paint. And obviously, paint back then was lead based, so that's just making everything even worse for him. At one point, one of the people who his roommates tended not to live with him for super long times because he was pretty disturbed in his behavior. But one of his roommates had to stop him from just chugging a bottle of turpentine. Which as a painter he just had. As a painter, he just had that in his studio as a paint thinner. So it was. Definitely Van Gogh eating his painting supplies.
Or was he like in a fit of the fugue state where he's just
it's not 100% clear. He had he had serious issues with dangerous compulsive behavior. Again, he barely remembered in retrospect cutting off his own ear in a fit of rage. So
that just goes to show you what lead will do.
Oh yeah, no. What lead can do to an already unhealthy person.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. No.
I mean, like the ancient Romans used to use lead to flavor their food. They would, like salt.
And in all their plumbing. Yeah.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. But I mean, it was reserved for the rich, and people like the aristocracy are the ones that are eating that all the time. And they're they're bringing a horse into the Senate and making people eat.
Caligula, all that stuff.
Exactly. Yeah, right. Yeah. So I mean, obviously, our minds are fragile.
Oh, absolutely.
Just a little bit of something can really tweak us. And
no, definitely. It is pretty striking, the things that before modern science that were believed by lots of people to be, this is great medicine. This will totally work. This will make you better.
Man, it's funny listening to you say that, because the medicine now, I don't trust that medicine.
It's not all great now either. It's fascinating to look back at some stuff that we now know more about and think this was so accepted. At the time, people did not question the basic assumption of can humans even ingest this at all? Is there any safe way? They just assumed, they can. I'm sure that we'll get it. Yeah.
I'll look at the stars. It tells me it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Man. So, okay. So this is the Emperor of China and Bill W. And there's another one. Doc Ellis is in there. I love that.
That's a great story. Yeah.
Tell us about Doc Ellis. Some people don't know about him.
Yeah, so Doc Ellis was a baseball player for, I believe was it the Pittsburgh Pirates? What's their team?
Pittsburgh. I think it was.
I know that Pittsburgh has that whole fun thing where all the teams start with P. So there's right. I think their hockey team is like the Penguins or something. But
I remember the jersey. It's Pirates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But so anyway, so he was a baseball player who he was also known for being outspoken about the issues for African Americans in the sporting world, because obviously he played baseball decades ago in a lot more racist of a time when there was still
man.
Yeah, he was a black man. Yeah, and so there was that's important to know. And so but this specific event, he's also known for, by accident, he didn't do it on purpose, but he ends up pitching a no-hitter while he's tripping on acid. Because
of course he did.
Yeah. So he gets into town one day and he goes to see a friend of his in town, and they end up partying for a while. They kind of lose track of time. So he wakes up the next day and he thinks, well, okay, I gotta take it easy because tomorrow I have a baseball game. And his buddy's like, it is tomorrow. Like, that game is today. That game is today. And so he has to go there while he is still just, I believe that there is a recording vibrating of him explaining it. And I believe the phrase he uses is, now I was higher than a Georgia pine. So he was just completely still tripping. And so he decides, well, I got to play this game. Guess I'll pop a few Benzedrine. So now he's got a bit of amphetamines in his system, and he's still got a full acid trip going. And he's going out. And so it is important to note that it's a no-hitter. He doesn't pitch well.
That's a perfect game.
But like, it's not. He doesn't pitch great, but no one gets a hit. Like, he hit several people with the ball. Like he would say that, like, a bunch of people, he would like end up walking them, but again, they wouldn't get a hit. It would just be he'd throw the ball so cockeyed that it would, like, he'd say that he saw it changing size in his hands, like getting really big and really tiny. He'd look up and he swore that he saw behind the batter, he thought he saw Richard Nixon with the catcher's mitt, like, you know, going. He was just. He was in a world of his own, but he had enough of a tether to reality to be like, okay, the batter is basically over there, and he just keeps throwing, and he actually gets a no-hitter.
That's so beautiful and perfect. It just, I mean, if anything, I'll bet he did better because I mean, I know it seems weird, but people that live in the jungles of Brazil, they eat mushrooms to help them hunt so they can see better. And so they have better reflexes. I mean, the wide pupils take in more light. I mean, it's an advantage to be high sometimes. You know?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly how I'm not sure exactly how it worked out, because it definitely seems like he was like seeing stuff just overlaid on his vision that was not necessarily there. It sounds like it was but certainly it made him unpredictable. Not even he knew what he was going to do next. So how could the batter, right?
Right. And then when you add speed to an already trip, it makes you trip more.
Oh, absolutely.
He should have known that.
the synergistic effects there. Like, he was pretty much thinking, it's like, yeah, I'm going to be tripping even harder, but at least I'll be on my feet and awake, and I'll be able to slightly pretend that I'm not completely out of my mind.
Right. But I mean, you know, when you got a really you got some good, clean, holy sacrament, whatever, you know, and then all you need is like a couple hours, and the next day you're fine.
Yeah, no,
you're not tired until the day after.
No, I think he was just very much. I'm not sure if he took some before, like he went to bed, or like in the morning, but it was still very much in full effect when the game was going on.
That's what happens when you take a good, like, big dose. It doesn't go away in like 4 hours. You know, mushrooms, you take a whole bunch and it's like, whoa, and it's gone after like 5 hours. It's like super, I can be like way more than an LSD like experience at mushrooms. But LSD is just like, if you do more, you're awake and it's going like 15 hours, 20 hours. Like, I mean,
Oh yeah, no, it's wild.
Enough.
That actually brings me to one really interesting story. That it's a really fun one. Oddly enough, a lot of people don't ask about it. Maybe it's because so Jean-Paul Sartre, right, the existentialist. I feel like a lot of people might think maybe, okay, his work is pretty trippy. Maybe it's not. Realizing the extent of how much he drank, he would drink just bottles of alcohol a day, smoke like 2 packs a day, have massive amounts of coffee. He was pretty much doing everything you could get in France at the time, except for cannabis. But he also but he would smoke like 2 packs a day, he'd be like double fisting coffee and wine, just constantly trying to get a buzz up. He'd again, he'd take some cocaine, he'd take some pills, he'd take barbiturates, whatever. And so at one point he decides to get to psychedelics, but he decides that he's going to go big or go home. So he decides to have himself injected with mescaline. He has the mescaline injected straight into his bloodstream.
Good idea. Yeah.
Good by a certain way of saying it. Now, I don't know exactly. So, and keep in mind, he's already a pretty strange guy, and he's doing a lot of drugs on a daily basis. But Sartre said this got him so...
Right.
It got him into such a state that he was hallucinating that there was a swarm of crabs and crustaceans that were just all around him, that followed him around for an entire year. He started talking to them. He began to think of them as his friends. At the end of the year, he said they faded away, and he actually missed them because he'd become so used to having them around. Wow. Yeah, so yeah, it can definitely take some pretty unusual manifestations.
I bet you that was a phenomenon that happened because he was so fully soaked in alcohol his whole life, and that is what came out of the mescaline, pulled that out. Because I think mescaline is like a healing thing. And when you get that kind of, it's like a purge, and it's happening out of his psyche. It's really interesting.
I just never heard of anyone having that injected before.
Oh yeah.
The fact that it went just straight into him like that.
Right.
That's unusual. Mainlining mescaline is unusual.
I think that's a great idea, actually. I would love to try that. But I mean, mescaline
I would not recommend you try it at home.
Oh yeah, right. Listeners, right. Yeah, we're all individuals here. But
yeah,
but still, I mean, just saying that, mescaline is such an amazing thing, and what it can do for your brain. I've only experienced it a couple times. But every time it's oh my God, it's totally different than everything. And but it's the opposite of alcohol.
No, it's a very different feeling.
It's like he was in the depths of the muck of alcohol is poison, and it's you're drinking poison constantly. It might as well be at the turpentine that Van Gogh wanted.
Again, it's he's drinking constantly, he's smoking cigarettes constantly, he's taking a bunch of barbiturates, a bunch of stuff that is not good for you. So it's just fascinating to think of just how many of those things would have to sort of coalesce into this one crazy, not a miasma, but just some kind of gigantic, many tentacled drug monster. I don't even know, but that must have been really trippy. That must have been beyond.
I'll bet
beyond
you
trippy.
Barbiturates, man. Those things will really hurt your brain.
Oh, I mean, yeah, they stopped using them in medicine for good reasons. I mean, those things had such a the therapeutic window was so small. The window between it works and you have been fatally poisoned was such a tiny interval. It was way too easy. I mean, that's how Hendrix died with
when you stop. Well, yeah, he was murdered with those things. But
we had the wine, and then then he
he didn't have any of the pills in his system, and the wine. Yeah, he didn't have alcohol in his blood. It was just in his stomach. I mean,
Yeah, no, they're sketchy stuff. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Right. Yeah, drugs are used to control people.
Yeah.
And when people decide to stop doing drugs, they just kill them. Like, what's his, Hendrix wanted to start singing for, Black Panthers, and they were like, nope, you can't do that. And what's his name? Nirvana guy wanted to quit doing heroin, and he was going to divorce his crazy evil.
Oh yeah. No, yeah. I've heard about that. Yeah, I can't say for sure what exactly happened there. I don't want to like sort of like, but yeah, no, definitely the use of drugs as a system to control people is absolutely. I mean, that's the whole thing with. I've got Queen Victoria in my book, and I mentioned that Queen Victoria was like the biggest drug kingpin of all time. She oversees the expansion of Britain's opium sales until opium sales make up to like 15 to 20% of the entire income of the British Empire. It single-handedly reverses the balance of trade with China. And when China tries to stop having opium sold en masse in their country, Victoria declares war, and that's where Britain gets control of Hong Kong from. And it starts the whole century of humiliation for China, where the imperialists from the Western countries and such get a foothold. All of that starts because Queen Victoria is hell-bent on selling opium with them to change the balance of trade, so Britain is profiting and not China.
Right. That's because China wouldn't take anything from Britain.
Oh no! So Britain was pretty much pouring silver into their coffers. They were drinking so much Chinese tea. Britain was importing so much tea, and China did not want anything the British had, and so Victoria was like, "What if we sell something that's like illegal, but we know that people will really, really want?"
Well, I mean, was it? I think it was legal in the beginning.
In the very beginning, by the time that the Opium Wars started, the Chinese government was in full panic mode, realizing how severely things had gone downhill that fast. And so they had banned it by that point. But at that point, there's underground opium dens everywhere. And, Britain is very much not interested in following those rules. So, yeah, after a Chinese official has an entire ship full of opium, dumped out Boston Tea Party style, and she's like, I remember what happened with the whole Boston Tea Party. This is not happening again. I am not having to deal with this. It's like she was very mad about the destruction of their cargo, and so she decided that she was going to protect her business interests.
So evil. And like that whole piece of the slaves from Africa to the sugar and Jamaica to the, what I mean? That whole like convection current of like, band of like ownership of domination of lesser peoples. Yeah. And was it Queen Victoria or was it Mary, Queen of Scots, that she did cannabis to alleviate her?
That was Queen Victoria.
Menstrual.
Okay. Queen Victoria was actually pretty into drugs. So she at that time in Britain, there were a number of remedies that did involve cannabis. She did use.
Right.
Yeah, it was before like the big prohibition of cannabis, and so it was like still seen as like a pretty big, like more of a novelty than anything. So or like a traditional medicine, and so she used a cannabis type. I think it was like a liquid for her menstrual pains, and she also was fond of
good. It works.
Yeah. Oh no, it absolutely does. That absolutely can soothe gastric issues, stomach pains. It is. I mean, truly. Like, I don't want to go on a whole like side tangent about how
we can.
I mean, it's really good for like cannabis is amazing for treating so many different like physical all kinds of pain, discomfort, gastric stuff. And again, I don't really have personal experience.
If you have nightmares that you can't get like to make them go away, do cannabis and bad dreams
can suppress nightmares. Yeah.
Man.
What I was saying was that I don't have the personal experience with the whole menstrual issues thing. That's not really,
really weird. I thought all men had periods,
right? But anyways,
well, anybody can have those these days.
True. Yeah, anyone can grow a beard now. But anyways,
yeah, we can all. Yeah.
Anyway, no, but
what is a woman? I'm just kidding.
Anyways. So let's not get into that.
I apologize.
So anyways, with the but yeah.
Cannabis.
No, I've heard from so many different people that cannabis can be an absolute, like, a huge game changer in dealing with previously agonizing menstrual conditions like endometriosis. I know a bunch of people who've been able to treat these horrible pains that were previously debilitating, and it goes into like from like a thing that's ruining your life to a minor nuisance,
Right. Yeah, there are, people juice the leaf and the buds, and they drink the juice, and they don't activate it with fire, so it's still like it's non-psychoactive.
Yeah,
so you can take larger doses, like huge dose in a milkshake almost, of like just cannabis juice from the fresh plant. And it suppresses seizures.
Oh yeah, no, the seizure, it is just the sheer utility of definitely. I feel like in my book, cannabis does come off as like one of the like safest and most like of all the ones that are like, it's like, okay, yeah, this is actually a really useful tool for a huge amount of things, and sure, you can misuse it, but it's considerably harder to misuse.
It's hard to misuse,
like unless you're like operating heavy machinery or getting high as hell and then like getting into your car and deciding to do donuts in the middle of the
I don't do donuts, but I get in the car all the time.
Again, it's like obviously, there's a huge range of these things, but another thing that Victoria was into though was again, like cocaine. Again, at that time, it's around the same time that Freud is operating, so cocaine is not illegal yet. Not only did they have cocaine infused chewing gum, Victoria liked that.
Oh man, I want some.
I know. One of the best though is cocaine infused wine. Used to be able to be, it was sold just at grocery stores, like around the corner. And in fact, one of my favorite ones in the entire book is about, so not the current Pope. The current Pope is Pope Leo the 14th, right? But
the previous guy, the guy from Philadelphia.
Or Chicago, I think. The first Chicago style Pope.
Yeah, he's deep dish.
The first Pope who has eaten deep dish, like probably in all probability, so again in the late 19th century, there's this the previous Pope Leo the 13th. This guy. So he becomes Pope when he's 75 and is Pope into his 90s. And so he's an old dude, and yet. So in the history of the Catholic Church, they got these big theological documents called encyclicals, right? In the entire history of the Catholic Church, there have been about 300 encyclicals. This one old guy wrote 80 of them. Wow. And this guy he had enough, he is still regarded well enough that the current Pope decided to name himself after this guy, and everyone was like, that's a great choice. He is very respected. But this guy, he loved that cocaine wine so much, he would always have a flask of it on him, and he said, quote, "It fortifies me when prayer is insufficient."
This is better than God.
I don't think he's like, this is not better than God. This is an excellent accompaniment to God.
Right.
This pairs perfectly with God for me. Right.
That's like the Rastafaris say about the cannabis. It pairs perfectly.
and so this stuff called so the creator of the wine was an Italian guy whose last name was Mariani, and so the drink is called Vin Mariani. He likes Vin Mariani so much that he invites Mariani to the Vatican and gives him a Vatican gold medal, and then appears in a full-page advertisement for cocaine wine endorsing it. And I have the ad like reprinted in my book. It's like, that was a real thing. There was a pope who was widely beloved and still considered to be a good pope, and he loved cocaine wine enough to do like sponsored content advertisements for it back in the 19th century.
So you're telling me that when people do a lot of drugs, they don't always end up on the side of the street begging for money? Huh.
Well, no, and certainly, I mean, it's like
respected people, huh?
Yeah, plenty of these people are very well off and very respected. Yeah, it's not like people from all walks of life do drugs, and it is amazing what especially when it's like he could just go to the grocery store and buy us. So it's not like he ever had to like live a shady double life or have to worry about, oh, is this stuff laced with something? It's like this was an ordinary consumer product. He could just go into the store, pick some up, and then go about his day. And it was for a lot of times for most of the people that I cover in my book were not breaking any laws when they did the drugs they were doing. At the time, a lot of these things were not even then illegal. Some of the things are still not illegal, in part just because they're not very popular for use, but also some of them were just like, I mean, most of this stuff seemed normal to the people who were doing it. Not all of it. Some of these people knew that what they were doing was like someone like Philip K. Dick, who does so many amphetamines. He's got, you know how for Halloween they'll have like those bowls of like M&Ms or whatever. Yeah. So he's got like one of those just full of amphetamine pills, and he would just like take like handfuls of amphetamines
like
at a time.
Black Betty's or black whatever those ones the truckers would take. Or those,
I don't know. I think it was like Benzedrine at the time, but he would just take so many amphetamines. So he knew that he was like losing his mind from the amphetamine. But a lot of these people thought what they were doing were normal. Certainly, a great example of that was Elvis is in my book, right? Elvis had this unbelievable prescription pill addiction. He was like one of the early victims of like the stuff very much like the opioid epidemic, because Elvis, like, he did not grow up in an environment where he had tons of medical knowledge. He grew up in a shotgun shack in Mississippi. And so when he was very anti-street drugs. Like if Elvis heard that like one of his backup singers or whatever, or one of his backup dancers was smoking pot, he'd be like, don't do that. It's bad for you.
You know what? It's really funny because I know his stepbrother, Billy, oh, what's his last name? We used to call him Belvis because all he talked about is Elvis all day. I worked at a Harley shop in Nashville, and he would always talk about hanging out with Elvis, and he would say these people would like. I mean, Billy was like a little younger. He was like a teenager when Elvis was like popular, and
yeah.
And so like I guess Billy's first job was shining Elvis's bikes and like whatever. And he would say that these dudes just want to hang out. And they would bring like an ounce of cocaine to Billy just to hang out. Like I find it hard to believe that Elvis was like not cool because like people were just like giving the shit to his little brother.
He was also like but he saw what he wanted to see, because at the same time, at the same time, so Elvis has this view about like, you know, he has this view that like, you know, no, drugs are what you buy from some scary guy on the street in a bad part of town. And so when Elvis joins the military, his superior officers tell him, you know what will make you a better soldier? Like, you know, I know that you're a little concerned because a lot of people here think you're some pretty boy celebrity and like not, but you know what will make you a real soldier? Amphetamines. These are go pills right here. Speed will make you like, you'll eat less, you'll work harder.
Nazis say. Yeah.
And so that was, as long as they've had these pills, militaries have used them because they find that it makes their soldiers have, again, go pills is what they call them. It gives them a little, you know, they don't need as much food. They can work for longer. Sure, there's lots of side effects, but they're willing to just keep giving them the pills because they feel like, no, this cranks them up. This makes them tougher. This makes them more effective. This makes them like, so Elvis,
like a confidence too. Like,
exactly. It's a confidence builder. They're much more willing to go into danger. They have, it does a lot for that military mindset. And so Elvis starts using these prescription pills. And then when he comes back, you know, at that point, he is so used to taking prescription pills, which he now thinks of as, oh, a doctor gave them to me. They can't be dangerous. A doctor is supposed to help you, not hurt you. And so he comes back and his manager manager, and the doctor he ends up seeing, a guy called Dr. George Nicopolis, aka Dr. Nick, who later ends up losing his medical license. So they basically decide that we are going to give Elvis whatever we have to give him to keep him on stage doing a heavy schedule, booked back to back. And so Elvis ends up constantly popping pills, and with all his hip swiveling and stuff, kind of like the later examples of Michael Jackson and Prince. That's terrible for his hips. Like he's putting a lot
he's overweight and stuff.
Oh yeah, so he ends up getting on a bunch of painkillers. So Elvis is popping pills like crazy, and also has this really unhealthy diet where he's pretty much eating his feelings. But the whole time, he does not realize that he has an addiction problem, because in his point of view, it's like the fact that I am downing fistfuls of pills and like shoveling food into my mouth. It's like, these are accepted things that I didn't buy them from a sketchy guy in the street. I bought them legally. Therefore, it is okay.
But if you got somebody telling you it's okay, then you don't have to worry about it, especially if it's a doctor. Right?
Oh yeah, his doctor says he's okay, and his agent, his manager tells him that, like, listen, buddy, you're great. Just keep getting out there, keep doing what you're doing. And so there's enablers around him who are willing to just let him sink deeper into drug addiction, even though.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, even though it will ultimately kill him. I mean, he dies when he's like 42, I think. He's sitting on the toilet, and he is so constipated from all the opioids and stuff. Right? I'm pretty sure he overstrains himself, and like a vein burst or something, or he has like a heart attack from straining himself on the toilet and dies. It is such an ignominious, awful way to go.
Those doctors could have gave him a stool softener, man.
I mean, yeah, that's the thing. He did not realize how bad his he probably went to his death thinking, I don't have a drug problem, because it wasn't what he recognized as like street drugs.
Yeah. And then he was in that picture with Nixon, and he was like,
Yeah, that's a crazy thing. So he wrote to Nixon saying, so apparently Elvis hated hippies. Apparently Elvis. Apparently he thought
go on.
Like these guys, they got this like hippy dippy free love drug lifestyle. It's no good. I wanna make sure the kids know not to do this. And so he writes to Nixon, like saying, I want to be an anti-drug ambassador. I want to reach out to the youth, and I want to maybe like be part of the DEA or whatever. And so Nixon gives him this like obviously fake little plastic badge that he has like some one of his guys make, but Elvis is like enthusiastic about it. And the whole time that he's meeting with Nixon, Elvis is high on pills. So you see them so you see just a really like confused and uncomfortable looking Nixon shaking hands with this like stoned looking Elvis, who thinks he is he's like so happy and thinks he is doing great stuff for his community. And he just comes off as like utterly deranged, because again, he wants to be an anti-drug ambassador while he still has a massive prescription drug problem.
Right. It's so, I mean, it really is like, it's silly to try to make drugs illegal. Like the idea of controlling drug use is controlling people. That's really all it is. Like, it gives the cops the right to go, it's not really rights, but it gives the cops the idea that they're allowed to go and stomp on some hippies because they smell like flowers. I mean,
no, and in fact, Nixon's people specifically state that as a reason. I believe it's John Ehrlichman, who is actually on record as saying later, he says to Nixon, he's like, okay, so our main opponents were these hippies against the war and black people who want civil rights. And now we can't just target them. Like, it's like that kind of thing won't quite fly anymore. You can't just shout the N-word out anymore. So what do? We try and get the public to think that that we associate these people with marijuana and with heroin, and we tell everyone that it's dope and it's dangerous and these people are deviants. And once we do that, we can go in, we can break up their meetings, we can arrest their leaders, and we can neutralize them as a threat. Did we know that this was just a pretext? Of course we did.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, a lot of the war on drugs is very much intended not to actually benefit public health, but to benefit political actors who want to claim more power for themselves and their fiefdoms inside the government.
Exactly that. I mean, wow. I mean, even look at the old slave patrol and how they were allowed to go, allowed by the authorities to go into any black person's home. And if you got a weapon, we're going to take it and we're going to ransack your house. And, and they were paid with alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
They were paid with a drug. Like, it's a go beat up your neighbors. Here's some alcohol. Like, holy shit. Like, but I mean, the idea of like, you're not allowed to have that. Now I get to go in your house. I get to stomp on everything. I get to do everything, all these bad things, It's
that pretext.
Exactly. And cops are like, they're trained to think, drugs bad. All people are bad. Everybody does drugs are bad. We like our family had a tragedy in the home, and the cops were there. And they were just walking around like people were like, I mean, I'm not going to talk about it, but I get that. They were like, they were invited because, we got to like talk about what's, whatever to them. And, the next step of what I don't want to really talk about.
But yeah, it's like, it's oftentimes a lot of people would like to believe that like calling the cops will make things okay. But oftentimes what happens is that you call the cops and a bunch of very jumpy strangers who have no idea what they're going into, but who have guns and have been trained to believe that anyone is potentially going to kill them at any moment. So all of a sudden you have a bunch of people who are constantly on edge and have guns. And realistically, if they shoot you, they will probably like coffee and
it's like
and they have a job where like again, I don't want to make it, but just the fact is, generally speaking, if a cop shoots someone, they don't even give them an unpaid. It's like you get a paid suspension while they investigate. God. So it's like there is
meanwhile we don't get paid on vacation days. Like,
there is not a lot of accountability there, and so it's a lot of people would like to think that calling the cops will help the situation, but a lot of times it just introduces another faction to the situation. And that faction is not necessarily well suited to solving the problem.
Dude, very well said. They came in and we were telling them and they were doing their job or whatever, And I noticed one of the cops, he's tipping over the big ashtray and he's sifting through the cigarette butts to see if there's any joint roaches.
Yeah, right. It's like,
what are you doing? Like
you're gonna. It's like I called to be helped, and you're treating me with suspicion. Like it's
right. And this. I mean, the thing that happened is like so far away from this person needs to be looked at as a suspect. I mean, it's the opposite. It's like, I mean, and the fact that they're trained, they see an ashtray, they automatically look for roaches.
Yeah,
doesn't matter what house they're in. They just do that. It's just like, ugh. Yeah. So I mean, the idea of drugs being illegal. That started with Harry Anslinger, right? And he was the Treasury Secretary.
That was a really big. So this one isn't in my but I've been doing more research, and so certainly he about other stuff because certainly there's like 40 groups or individuals in my book, but there's way more people who've done drugs in history. So I'm keeping up the search.
I hope you got some good stories about him in particular, because he was such a detrimental person to the society.
He pretty much killed Billie Holiday. Killed Billie Holiday. It's like he was.
How does that work?
So he was. So I think he was promoted to be the head of what had been the Department of Prohibition. But of course, Prohibition ends. And so all of a sudden he's thinking, well, it's like, if I don't think of something to make myself relevant, me and my guys are potentially out of a job.
Just like all government is thinking all the time, every day. Like FBI's like, oh, we got to have some false flags, and like, so on and so forth. Right?
It's like, if there is no, it's like it is to their benefit to have something that is considered a crime so they can investigate it. And then, so it's like, so if there aren't enough actual crimes going on, then we'll make something a crime. Like, it's
exactly. We'll make smoking flowers a crime. Ugh.
Exactly. Yeah, again, it was pretty casual. Like up until 1936, it was, again, like a minor thing, not really. But then, these laws are in place, and Anslinger realizes that if they portray themselves as being, no, we're not prohibition guys anymore. Now we're talking about the threat of narcotics. Like the narcotics is what we're going to focus on. And there's these dangerous drugs. And so they're saying that everything from those. So basically, it gives them a bunch of people to go after. And there's also the fact that, Anslinger is on
dirty Mexican Texans.
So Anslinger really hates black people. He is pretty racist in general.
All those jazz musicians, right? Yeah,
exactly. Right. But so Anslinger actually, I believe one of the senators from his state said he should have to retire because of just how often he would use the N-word in official communications, like on official documents. He would just use it all the time. And so, but at the time, that was not considered reason to remove him from his job, being blatantly and openly racist. And so his thing was, he would portray that he's like, look, the threat of a reefer is a pernicious threat that it's like, we have to make this illegal. There have to be heavy penalties. And then he goes to terrorize jazz musicians. And he especially hates Billie Holiday. It's like, she's black. She's a woman. She sings about, she has her song Strange Fruit. That's like her signature song. And so she's up there performing a song that talks about lynchings in the South and how people just get away with it. And so for so many different reasons, he decides, I am going to make an example of this woman. So when she is like, they bust her on these false pretexts. When she says, listen, I know I have a problem. I will stop. Please just give me treatment. They deny her treatment and send her to jail for a year and a day anyways. And then later, when she's in the hospital with withdrawals, she's being given methadone, and they take her off the methadone so she'll die.
Oh.
So yeah, that's what Billie Holiday did. Her friend said, you can't take her off this. She's on the critical list. So Anslinger just has her removed from the critical list, and that's
wow.
Yeah. So
that's
so
how
yeah,
government
definitely
does it with paperwork.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Just a judicially ordained murder.
Yep. Stamp. Yep. Holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
And then that teaches all the other ones, you don't mess with us.
Yeah, it's supposed to
kill you.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely supposed to send. And plus, there's the whole thing of, it gives them a lot of work to be busting people for this. But of course, it doesn't actually do anything to, if anything, it encourages people who used to be casual cannabis users. At this point, after 1936, if they want to keep using, they now have to go to dealers who sell a bunch of other stuff who are much more familiar. So it's like it pushes a lot of people into the arms of the people who they say they're trying to fight. Right. In the same way as Prohibition was amazing for the mob and everyone who wanted to sell alcohol illegally and bootleg it and use violence. All of those things, it's very much the same story with the war on drugs. By giving criminals a monopoly, it ensures that those groups will benefit and that people who want to do things in more ethical ways cannot do it.
And it's funny though, because all the like above the cartels is the British government still running that opium. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And the cocaine.
Yeah, no, they're in that for, I mean, not at that point in time are they still doing that, but certainly for a
Still
long
now. No,
I mean, yeah, they definitely.
Yeah,
I mean,
still,
like it wasn't quite where it was during Victoria was
Right,
kind of the
course.
peak of the opium trade for Britain.
Right.
But absolutely, it's like it's not as though there are again, like plenty of pharmaceutical companies have deals with the government to have like, you know, it's like you are the only one who like medical cocaine is still a thing in the US. So certain groups have like the priority over that. In fact, I'm pretty sure it's that that in the US, I'm pretty sure that all medical cocaine comes from, of all things, I think it's so Coca-Cola is still made with the actual coca leaf alkaloids. That's why the mouthfeel of Coke, it's like it doesn't have the actual cocaine in there still, but all the other stuff in the coca leaves, though it's an actual ingredient in the syrup, which is why it has that soothing, like sort of like fizzy feel inside your mouth. And so the coca leaves that are done for that, they are, I believe, shipped to the US, and there is a medical facility in New Jersey that extracts the cocaine and is like the one licensed provider of medical cocaine for like dentistry and ocular surgery and a few like very specialized purposes where it's still but yeah, amazingly
dentists get to that nitrous too.
Well, the nitrous is a lot easier to, it's like that is not controlled nearly as carefully, but of course people can still use, you know, people can very easily use that as a sort of like what do they call it, hippie crack, is that the
hippie crack. I mean, because it's just so good. It's just
I mean, people like
hallucinogenic.
They huff a balloon and they get like a short but intense, like whoa, and it's
very visual, auditory. Wah 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 wah. It is itself hallucinogenic. People are like, oh, it might as well be huffing paint, but they don't understand what it is. The molecule is a drug.
Like, it's not just like it's not just like sniffing Sharpies. It's like
you're not like depriving yourself of oxygen and then feeling weird because of that. It's because of the
the nitrous oxide actually has like a biochemical effect that differs in its method of action. Yeah.
Exactly. Very well said. Yes.
And it's
in combination with LSD is like it multiplies the LSD experience by like 50 times for that 5-10 minutes of like
it definitely is
on the dead lot, all those people with the balloons, because the LSD goes with the nitrous. It's interesting how those two
like the parking lot at like a Fish concert or something like that. Like
the word fish, the reason they chose fish is because that's what a person who takes too much nitrous, they flop around on the ground because like they don't have any oxygen. They pass out and they flop around, and that's someone fishing out. That's what it's called for those heady cats. That's what it is.
Yeah, like, that makes sense. Right? That is logical. That is
a
logical.
Whole language. They got a language.
I get that.
Yeah. So like, I mean, those people, they were on dead lot first and they experienced, and then they're like, oh, let's name our band after being nitrous.
Yeah, no, definitely. It's that definite inheritor of that Grateful Dead like jam band tradition, like that.
Right. And they, they're kind of a corporate thing, and they kind of have the government, the Tavistock Institute kind of influence into our society as well. They're still kind of cranking that same old widget of like the whole 60s thing. We were talking.
What are you talking about? The Grateful Dead?
Yeah, well, the whole idea of like the pushing of the LSD into the, the psyche, and the idea of like just grow your hair and don't look at the, don't ever invest money in the stock market. Like, don't do that. Go over to the woods and get out of here. You know what I mean?
That was their origin. Like, I mean, because they're the Grateful Dead is from Palo Alto originally, you know, and they knew these like Stanford chemistry people. Like Stanford has a very good chemistry department, and it's like where like drugs come from science, right? Like drugs are made out of chemistry, and so you end up with in the foothills near Stanford, you've got Ken Kesey has his whole thing. He's in my book, and so Ken Kesey, the author of the One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, he gets super into LSD, and he meets up with this guy Owsley Stanley, and Owsley Stanley is like the first guy I think to produce LSD for recreational purposes in large amounts.
Yes, Orange Sunshine.
Yeah, exactly. And he is not only is he like the acid king of San Francisco, he's also the manager of the Grateful Dead. So the Grateful Dead are the house band at all of Ken Kesey's like electric Kool-Aid acid trip parties, where there's crazy day glow lights and there's weird this the strobe, day glow paint and all that.
The weird poetry, they would like talk weird stuff, and they like it was very weird.
And so the Grateful Dead get their start as the house band there.
And if you look further into them, you'll see that they, Bobby goes to Bohemian Grove and he talks about his Weltschmerz, and he goes and talks to the guy who was the big wig in the OSS, and they sit down by the fire and have drinks and talk about the Bohemian Grove times, and then the other one, the bassist there, Phil Lesh, the guy who got the liver to replace his drunky alcohol poisoned liver. That dude was Freemason, was always bringing people, like bringing the shows to the Masonic halls, and so like, and then they, and you look at the whole, they were also Tavistock influenced them, and so like they were hired to do that, it wasn't like, so like, of course they're like the kid. I mean, I don't know if you read Dave McGowan, but he's integral if you want to learn more about like the whole thing. But the idea of like to radically change the kids' heads, they thought that like by disillusioning them from reality, it could influence them in a way where like if they give them contraceptives and then let them just go fornicate in the mud, maybe they'll just get out of the way and we can have our society. And even though there's 5 to 1, like what Jim Morrison would sing about, 5 to 1 youth to old, they could have taken over the world, but they were too busy like sitting on a pillow looking at their navel, or like rolling in mud, or growing their hair. And it's
the government absolutely had a firm belief that was the whole point of MK Ultra, was their belief that they could weaponize substances, and they could find a way to maybe they would create a truth serum, maybe they would create something that allowed for mind control. They weren't exactly sure, but they wanted to be able to control how people thought and behaved, and they wanted to use drugs to do it. So in the mid 50s, the CIA buys up the entire world's supply of pharmaceutical LSD for $240,000 of 50s money.
It wasn't really that much actually in the scheme of things. Right. As of now, like there's some of that Orange Sunshine that Owsley made. I know from people, or maybe it wasn't the stuff that Owsley, I forget who. Oh man, there was some people that got busted, but they were making maybe it was after Owsley stopped, and then they took over, because then Owsley was doing the Wall of Sound, and like LSD became illegal, and it's like so like he gave the recipe to these other people, and they continued to make it. I mean, obviously, and there's like 50-gallon drums buried with full of crystal LSD, like just waiting to be like unearthed. There is like large. I mean, I'm glad that there's smart people that really care for that stuff, and really that's what it is. It's like a love for it. That's why they make it. It's not to make money. It's really some of the cheapest stuff. Like,
no, yeah, with the psychedelic clandestine chemists, like they're not in it because they want to be like big cartel guys. They're in it because they have this bizarre but undeniable passion for this very unusual substance, and they feel that like it's like, even if they have to do it on the down low and like they can't be open about it, they want to keep this in existence, sort of like a keep circulating the tapes type thing, like where they
God bless
it's
them. We love them. Yeah. So I mean, because really the cartels want the other stuff because that's so addictive and it makes a slave out of you.
Exactly. The cartels want like the crystal methamphetamine or just stuff that is shit. They can make it with like, especially if they can make it with like weird chemicals that they could get from any kind of like corrupt, any kind of like corrupt seller in some country that doesn't do as much like, oversight of what goes in and out. All they have to do is get some from there, and they can mass produce this stuff that will turn people, make them dependent on them. But like the psychedelics, they don't cause that kind of like that physical dependency like that. It's a very different it's definitely a very different business.
There's a physical mechanism that keeps you from being able to do it again the next day.
Your tolerance will go like way up temporarily. So it's like it doesn't lead to that same kind of like compulsive habit. Right. I have to do more sense.
Right. It's like with the psychedelics, it's as if you have to charge your brain with lots of good sleep and lots of good food and chemicals, and then when you do the psychedelic, it shocks the system and it releases all the juice. And then like if you're just trying to shock the system all day every day, you just get nothing. I mean, you stay awake, but you're not like.
But it's basically like, just kind of wasting it. Like that definitely doesn't give the same sensation of people don't feel compelled. It's like, okay, I can do this and take a break for a while and then wait until I'm ready to do this again when I'm in the right headspace.
Exactly. So that, I mean, you can't be addicted to LSD. It's like you can't. I mean, you can love it, and
you can get psychologically addicted to anything. I mean, because there's people who are addicted to like
jerking off, like whatever,
or playing like playing those like premium games on your phone. But those games where you have to it's like Candy Crush. It's like all of a sudden they've spent like thousands of dollars. I mean, like there's gambling addiction, there's sex addiction. That's all very psychological, but it doesn't have that physically habit forming property that something like crystal meth would.
Right. Like I definitely love the sacred plants and the entheogens, as they call them. Yeah. But I mean, I don't think I'm addicted. Like,
no. Yeah. And
like
certainly
you do. And even if you did do like all week or something, you're doing 10 strip every day or something. But then when you stop, you're done. You don't, I need more, because it's like it's a emotional and psychological experience. It's not like, oh, my body feels good. The body feels good also. It's like a component, but it's not the thing that you're going for. That's not why.
But it's a lot more about the whole like mental subjective experience and that kind of like the methods of thought that it sort of produces. Yeah.
Exactly. And like, it fires new connections, stuff you never thought of before, it can be really helpful, I think. But
no, absolutely, I definitely think that it is because again, like the guy who invented LSD, Dr. Albert Hoffman, he invented it by accident in 1943.
Okay. All right. I mean, yes, that is the story.
Well, I mean, it's like there's things that are very similar, but that specific compound, and so he was always
25. Right.
Yeah, LSD 25. Yeah, that's very
Right.
specific type. And so he was always dismayed that he believed that it had so much potential for like psychotherapy and for helping
Yes.
people deal with all these. And he was.
It does.
Yeah, and yeah, I agree with him. And so he was dismayed to see that the government banned it and thought it was like he thought that it should still be available, and I agree that it should still be available in pharmacies, and you should be able to get that legally and use it as a proper medication. Like, there's genuine, very useful applications for all kinds of psychiatric conditions.
I agree. And I don't think that people should have to go through a doctor or a government that allows whatever. I mean, I think it should be branded and mass produced and tested by scientists, make sure of its purity and shit.
I mean,
But
yeah.
you should be able to go and get it just like a bottle of alcohol. I think.
No, yeah, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense. Yeah, no, I think that would be a lot more reasonable than what we have now.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, the idea of what LSD, like, they measure the paper it's soaked into. They can't even, they don't measure the drug itself. Like, so if you got one drop of liquid in a sugar cube, they measure the sugar cube and they say you got that much LSD.
Yeah. It is absurd with like the things that are done with because I think that was one of the things Timothy Leary, I think, got arrested for something like that. It's like they'd pick up the ashtray that like they found like a roach or two in, and they'd say that the entire ashtray was like, this is the weight. We found like several pounds.
Exactly. Imagine, but Timothy Leary was integral in making LSD illegal.
Yeah, he got a little bit over enthusiastic about it at times.
Well, he went to the court, or they were having hearings, and they asked him what he thought. Should it be legal or illegal? He said to the authorities of the government, it should be illegal. He
Really?
said that. Mm-hmm.
I thought it might have been. I know that there was a controversy.
Tape of him saying it. There's like, it's taped. They got it on camera.
Okay, I mean, yeah,
by making it illegal, it makes people want it more.
There's a forbidden fruit angle. Yeah, yes. Definitely. Yeah, I'm not defending everything Leary did. I think I disagree with a lot of things he did. But he definitely. Yeah, kind of a double-edged sword there. Like, he raised a lot of awareness of it, but both in a helpful and a not so helpful way.
Right.
Like at the same time, he was very high profile about it.
Yeah.
There was this whole thing where he tried to make like his league for spiritual development, where he tried to actually get LSD classified as like a religiously necessary part of a religion.
Like Santo Daime does with DMT.
Yeah, so he tried to pull that off. It didn't work, but
it's funny though. It was already legal, and then he made it illegal, where it was a big part of it. And then he's like, "Oh, please, can I have permission to this thing?" Like,
no, it's definitely.
It's just like it's schism. It's a schism. Like how?
That definitely.
But really, but if you look at it from the bigger angle, the government wanted the kids to do, and then. If they, and they're already arresting them for cannabis, so they find this too, like, oh shit, so but the fact that it's like, if I forget one of the charges, if you get caught with it, is like conspiracy against the government or some shit. You can
add all kinds of crazy charges onto these things. No, it's pretty wild.
It just goes to show how foolish it is. Like,
oh yeah,
I mean, anyway, so moving on from LSD. So so the idea of drugs is a vast, and like, how did you choose? Like, what made you want to get into this? Like, was there a thing that really stuck in your craw that you were like, I really want to teach people this? Like, what was it that influenced you to start this book?
Yeah, I mean, definitely it was a lot of things. That whole vibe that I was talking about earlier of there being a lot of really fascinating stories that because it would be controversial to teach them in like a mainstream educational setting, we often don't hear some of the best anecdotes from history, things that actually help explain a lot of stuff, simply because it's not deemed proper by whatever powers that be. One big example of that, I think, was so like most people in college, I took, Psych 101, right? I took an intro to psychology class. And obviously we learned a lot about Freud as part of that class. And certainly, we learned that like Freud's ideas about the subconscious mind being a powerful driver of human behavior. Well, that's a real thing. But plenty of other stuff that Freud believes in, like the Oedipus complex, penis envy, the Electra complex. Some of this stuff is pretty goddamn
and he
weird.
was always smoking big cigars and talking about a penises. Like what?
Yeah, no, this his like the whole the anal oral his like hardcore weird sex obsession. Like you wonder, you look at that and you think like it's like he has beliefs that are like ahead of his time and legitimate, right next to all these beliefs that seem to be completely off his head, but he has this absolute confidence about all of them, and he has so much energy to talk about all of them and really advocate for them. And so I'm wondering, like, what other stuff has Freud written? And so I look at just his writing, and they don't talk about this at all in class, but I see he's written something called Uber Coca, and I'm like, coca? Like coca leaves, like where they get cocaine from? And so that's when I do more research and learn that for 12 years, Freud is doing cocaine like all day, every day. And that's when a lot of his biggest work comes around. And I think all of a sudden, it makes so much more sense why he is absolutely confident in the Oedipus complex and the Electra complex and penis envy all being real things, because he is coked out the entire time he's doing this. And it makes so much more sense. And I thought, I bet there's a lot more other things where it's like, if you reveal the part where this person is using substances, then all of a sudden things that seem confusing at first glance will make a lot more sense.
That's so perfect, because really it's not about the drugs, it's about the state of mind and understanding the minds. Because like, normal person would be like, why does this dude think that the ultimate goal of a boy is to bang his mom and kill his dad? Why would he? But then it makes more sense. But if you know tweakers and you see what they do, and like, I mean, the really bad ones that do like the P and all that kind of weird shit, they go online and they find other tweakers that are also like sexed up and weird. And
the whole connection between stimulant use and like bizarre sexual behavior. There's like those, it definitely acts for a lot of these people as an aphrodisiac of sorts, where it encourages them both to engage in these acts and maybe to like bring up and do things that would otherwise they would otherwise think, no, I'm not going to say this, but it gives them that sort of that confidence, whether or not it is a good idea, where they think that everything is a good idea. That is such classic cocaine use for him to be like, you know what? I feel totally confident about what I'm doing, and this is brilliant, and everything I'm writing is genius. I mean, how many films from the 80s got made that way? Like, that's
a good point. Yeah, really. Yeah, a lot of the movies that I'll be like, oh, this is a coke fueled fever dream. You know what I mean? It's like, what the hell? Like Howard the Duck. Like, what the hell? Like, I mean, come on, what were they thinking?
Yeah, it's like.
But like, I mean, with the movies too, like, oh man, if you know about how, like, I think you have The Wizard of Oz in your book too.
Yeah.
The poor
Judy Garland, the abuse that she was put into, they just wanted her to be a machine who would they'd feed her amphetamines so she could work up to 72 hours, and then they would feed her barbiturates so she'd sleep, and it's like they would make her smoke cigarettes to stay skinny, because she's a teenage girl, and they're like, okay, so we want you to play a prepubescent child.
Right.
Like, and they would just give.
So you can't be grown.
You can't
have to
like
be shrunk down
like
and minuscule again.
We need you to be sort of
dude.
like, like shrunken into yourself. Like so yeah, they would just give these utterly brutal demands, and they would treat her like there was something wrong with her when there's nothing wrong with her. And so they'd be like, the only way that you can be acceptable to society is if you take these drugs that we tell you to take. And she just gets so inured to that even when she's no longer being actively forced to take the drugs, she just doesn't know how to cope with things without that, because they deliberately coached her into believing that was the only way to do things.
Right. And that stage of her life is like the imprinting of the rest of her future. Like,
oh yeah.
That's how, like, the way that you cope with things in your teenage years kind of sets your normal level inside. So for the rest of your life. And
oh yeah,
that makes sense. And if you knew about the Tin Man, he was poisoned by that paint they put on.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, the Wicked Witch at one point caught on fire from all the that makeup, I think, was copper based, so it was insanely flammable. That it was a real nightmare. The making of that movie was just, you look at the behind the scenes stuff and it's actually really brutal. Like those people were put through some serious shit.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it really looks pretty.
I know, yeah, like
really nice piece of art. Like,
yeah, no,
but holy crap, what they had to do to people. Oh, man.
Yeah,
but the drugs are a way of making them. The drugs are just a control system for those types, like you were saying.
No, yeah, again, it's like, it's a way for like an abusive authority figure to make you like dependent on a certain thing to sort of get you. It's like
pimp does to her.
Very much like a pimp does. Yes, it's a very similar idea of like making the people who are working under you dependent, and making them you see that everywhere from this isn't in the book, but it just a thing in South Africa. They used to pay vineyard workers in wine so that they. So right.
They paid sailors with rum. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and in this case, it was like, it was one of these things where you just get someone dependent on your own product, so they can never leave, and they have to keep, And that's a way that it's like, and if people are more dependent, you can take away more of their rights, pay them less, treat them worse as employees, and they'll have no recourse. And so the whole thing is a scheme for control by people who have power and want to hang on to it by any means that are available to them. Right.
It's like stealing of another person's will.
Yeah.
Like they no longer, you look at the junkie on the street that they used to do heroin. Like, I know they don't anymore, but, they would work all day just to get that day's worth of high and then have a shot for the morning. That's all they think about. And they would, if they could just work that hard doing anything else, they'd be very successful, but their will is gone. They can't think of having a will of their, they only have to pay the man.
Yeah, it's that tunnel vision. It's that tunnel vision. Everything else just sort of recedes, and it only becomes about just, how do I keep going the way that I'm already going, even if it's a terrible direction?
Right. Yeah, it really, the conversation has really shown that some drugs are like slavery, and some drugs are like opening doors and setting you free. It's interesting.
Oh yeah, the specific type of tool varies a lot.
Right. So, so you discovered this about Freud, and you're thinking like, oh, okay. And then I'm sure you discovered that Hitler was high on meth. Oh, that makes sense why he's yelling like that.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing footage of him at the Olympics where he is constantly just rocking back and forth in his chair and like stamping his foot, and like he is clearly just tweaking out of his mind.
He was like rubbing his crotch with his gun.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah, no, seeing those things that make it like
all the way, dude. Whoa.
And all of a sudden him like, having his arms up and screaming, and like his just the I mean, again, he was already an evil dude, but like his massive drug abuse really sort of empowered him to be like all the just being cranked up like that encouraged him to be just the worst person he could be.
He turned into an evil shaman, I guess. Like he's, like he's just always in the drug and like in this fugue state of like crazy. And, people were like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Oh, write that down. Yeah, okay.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, this was before he led Germany. He was talking about his experience in World War I. And I believe he was saying that, so in World War I, the German military would give its troops cocaine in order to crank them, as a go type thing. Right. And so Hitler would be on a bunch of cocaine, he would run like into battle. He won some awards for bravery because he basically was just like one of those people who wants to just like feel something, even if it's like, especially if it's either him experiencing pain or giving it to others, like just a real like. And so he said that World War I.
Psycho. Right.
Oh yeah, no. He said that World War I with like with him being on cocaine and all the chemical weapons and people dying all around him. He said that was the most fun I ever had.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
So and that's before he became the leader of Germany and so that's what he was like before World War II.
The world owners hired him to do that job. like
Yeah, no,
look at, they chose Kinsey to do the job that he does, and you look into his psychology and holy shit, he circumcised himself with a penknife. Like, what? He's supposed to teach people about sex? Like, oh my God.
I'm a little concerned about this.
Yeah, dude. But like, he's, Rockefeller put him at the top and now he's the reason why all textbooks say that all kids are sexual and blah, like all that. Like they got the most psycho individual to be up at the front and like, okay, you go do your thing. Like, they hire the Hitler to do that and they hire the Kinsey to do, Freud, I'm sure like they gave him all that cocaine on purpose. I'm sure he's like, oh, they're like, I think it's a good idea to.
I mean, again, like, so.
Oh yeah, like, that's good.
To be fair, there was like a synergistic relationship. So the cocaine guys give Freud free cocaine, and Freud loves cocaine, and he writes that cocaine is a miracle drug, and he thinks that it can be used to treat just about anything. And so they're like, great, here's more cocaine. Keep doing cocaine. Like, it's like at a certain point, like they see this common cause. It's like, okay, like this can actually, like, even if we don't necessarily agree on everything, we agree on the basics.
Did they understand about addiction really at that point? I mean, did they just think it was a habit, or do you know? I mean,
it was still very much in its infancy. Again, like a little bit earlier in the so like by the time that cocaine gets really popular in Europe, they've finally made like some slight laws against opium just being sold everywhere. Because it used to be that you could go into any like corner store or pool hall or pub and buy laudanum over the counter, and that's just opium suspended in alcohol.
And the housewives were doing that all day.
Oh yeah, it was like they'd have things and it's like, hey, is your baby teething? Give them a drop, like, Yes. So yeah, like they finally started putting some rules on that. But if they like, there did not seem to be.
Was it because of dependency? Is that why they were putting the rules? Because they were seeing housewives?
They saw that so many people were getting like hooked on opium to a dangerous extent. They're like, okay, something is going on here. We can't blame all of it on their like supposed personal failings. I guess we're gonna have to do something. But again, it's like the law takes a very, very long time to come to. It doesn't necessarily take the approach that just because something is extremely addictive, that it should be illegal. A lot of the times people are like, well, we have a guaranteed market. Why are you trying to make this illegal? Like we can. So there's certainly a financial imperative not to do it. Yeah.
The CIA has the guaranteed market with the cartels in Mexico.
It makes there is a sort of a system that ensures that both the the people responsible for both the drug production and the drug enforcement will both be able to have continued business.
Right. They like George Clinton of P-Funk All-Stars said that they'll never make drugs illegal because there's more profit in preventing it than there is in selling it.
Yeah, no, there's
maybe
definitely
that's changing now with cannabis. I don't know, because they're really taxing the hell out of it. Some states.
Yeah, no, it's still tough going, but definitely there's been much more awareness that turns out that banning something does not remove the market for it.
Oh no, it's quite the opposite, right?
Yeah,
and if people own themselves, then they're gonna find a way. You know what I mean? If
that is the thing. So the question is, do you want people to do things in a safe and more socially acceptable way, or do you want people to go to the weird extremes that they're going to go to if there isn't a more rational way to go about this? They're by hook or by crook, they're going to do this.
Yeah. Hook or crook. Yeah, I guess that's the Egyptian term, and the Egyptians used to drink water, the blue lily, in alcohol, and that's what the drink that they would get high on. And
yeah,
I guess the blue water lily had some kind of psychoactive, hallucinogenic thing.
Yeah. Certainly the Egyptians also were fond of cannabis and opium, but yeah. But yeah, they were
the earliest. I guess they found cannabosum on a 10,000-year-old altar. It was I think it was Jewish altar.
They found cannabis in various, I think like ancient Egypt, ancient India. Some of these places had cannabis, just stretching back before they really have a lot of recorded records, but certain and in some places in Central Asia, I think the Scythians were supposed to use cannabis in some of their religious rituals. So these are all sort of
and they were the first ones on the horseback with the bow and arrow. And
I think so. Yeah. So some of the
Yeah.
So absolutely, there's in places like Egypt, there's a very long history of these substances being used, and that was actually a big part of cannabis being popularized in Europe was in part Napoleon goes to Egypt
too,
and they bring back a ton of cannabis, and soon you can buy hashish at any pharmacy in France.
Yeah, that's great. And it's undeniable, its benefits and how great it is made out of flowers. What the
definitely cannabis has been one of the big the things that endures as for all the controversy around it. It's one of those things that it's been used as medicine for a really long time, and the modern evidence still indicates, this is actually good medicine for a lot of different things. It won't literally cure everything, but it is very useful for a huge range of conditions.
And if you look at at the turn of the century in 1900 or whatever, pretty much every medication had cannabis indica in it, and opium mostly, and sometimes cocaine. They would mix all.
Oh yeah, for those patent medications, that was a really big thing. And those used to be those were early examples of American branding. They would have medicine shows where they'd go around and they'd say, "Hey, look at this! This is a miracle thing. It'll do this. It'll do." And so there's a lot of
that's no wonder they put cannabis, because it does do all those things.
So it definitely that sends the message that, hey, this isn't just quackery, it's actually doing something. It might not do everything they say it does, because they say it'll it'll do anything, but
they say it'll make you jump out a window, or
it'll make your hair grow back. Are you bald? It will give you a full head of hair again. It will give you it will give you infinite male potency. You will have I don't know, they would just claim anything, but it's I feel pretty good, so maybe it's working.
Yeah, and then usually it does work. And in the Old West, when a pharmacy was putting up a sign, they would put a picture of a cannabis leaf. Instead of
absolutely.
a red cross or whatever.
Definitely.
Yeah, red. Oh, Knights Templar. That'll what is why do I
Yeah,
need the
no.
red cross? Like, oh yeah, the cannabis leaf. Obviously, that means medicine.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. It's yeah, so that's a whole big part of I mean, it's like
Of our
the
American history of like
yeah.
being, and George H.W. Bush grew cannabis hemp in the Philippines for the parachutes.
Oh yeah.
I mean, and that he was called Poppy Bush for a reason too, with all the heroin.
Oh yeah.
There's like really, I mean, pretty much everything you look at, it's like it is the secret key to understanding because sober people don't act like Hitler. Sober people don't do like Van Gogh. You know what I mean? And most everybody that learning history growing up, it's like, wow, people are crazy. But really, I mean, that's
There's
just
a lot more going on behind the scenes. Yeah.
exactly. That's a normal effect of eating lead.
Oh yeah.
Just learn and
Yeah,
like, oh, okay, I shouldn't eat paint. Like,
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, it's like most paint is lead free now. I would still, to any listeners, do not eat paint. Paint is really bad for you. Like,
right.
that is.
That's
I
probably
don't even
the
think
best
that'll
idea.
get you high. It'll just get you poisoned. Like, I don't really know what Van Gogh was. I mean, that guy had issues. You don't want to end up like Van Gogh, okay?
Right.
Like he shot himself in the chest in a field.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, he had a lot of problems.
Was he doing absinthe too? Wasn't that a thing at the time?
Yeah. That was during the period in time where
Green Fairy. And
yeah,
like
so there was a whole, I think there was like a grape shortage in France, so wine became more expensive, but there was a bunch of cheap absinthe around, and so absinthe became very popular both among like the artsy crowd, but also among like down and out drunks, and Van Gogh was kind of like both of those. So like he was like, yeah, I'm like a mentally ill like guy struggling to get by, but I'm also this like artsy sensitive type. So he was he drank a lot of absinthe and took a lot of lead paint, and he was not doing well in the mind.
Man, that wormwood, that absinthe is really weird too. It's like, it is trippy, but it's like a dark shadows type of thing. It's not like a happy green fairy, it's a
no,
weird...
it gives me much more of the vibe of like, I don't know, just being sort of like just way too drunk. I mean, it's like, it is often like 60% alcohol or something by volume. So
right. Yeah, the stuff that you buy, my friends used to make it. They would like steep wormwood in vodka, like
okay,
Everclear, and make our own. And it was like very potent. We would leave it for a week or two. They would leave it for a week or two and have parties. They would like pierce themselves with safety pins and do weird shit.
Yeah, like it's just
I mean, like, they would get all spooky and talk weird, but some, I mean, man, I don't know about like, is this even a topic? Like going someplace where you see everybody on a certain drug and how weird it is, like just when everybody else is like high on the thing. Like I've been to a house once where everybody was high on ketamine.
Yeah.
And they were snorting big rails of it, and they had like big, they couldn't breathe and stuff.
Yeah.
And it looked like they were looking at cartoon bubbles. They were just like, oh.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you get this very
whole house. Yeah, tell me, like, have you ever experienced that? Is that like?
I mean, again, it's just like that weird, like going into it definitely is the whole like the idea we have of like opium dens is very much like that, because it's just this weird, fascinating, where it's almost this ritualized way of like, it's like okay, so you take it and you light it and then you inhale through a long pipe, and then like the whole thing is just this weird,
and you have to lay on your side and you have to have lots of pillows.
Yeah, I mean, because they're practically passing out, so it definitely is just this weird sense of Yeah, it can create this sense of an alternate reality where the people who are taking part in it don't realize how strange it looks from the outside. But then if you're not part of it, you go in and you're like, what the hell is going on here? Like, did I go in the wrong door? Like, what?
Yeah. Like if you're like high on LSD and you walk into a bar and a bunch of drunks and you try listening to them or trying to be, it's just like, oh,
Just
my
like,
God,
man, there are bad vibes here. I need to like find my center and take some deep breaths and get some French air, man. Because this is a total buzzkill.
Buzzkill, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's like this is not what I want to be experiencing right now. It's just this like there's just this wall of sound that is like rushing over me, and it's like I can smell these people's sweat, and they're and it's just like, dude, I don't want to be here. Like, I gotta get out.
And they're sweating out the poison alcohol. It's like, oh man.
Oh yeah.
I'm glad that I chose not to drink, and I can have one because I don't, because my dad was drunk and I wasn't going to do that. And like I chose cannabis and it saved me. If somebody's hearing me for the first time, maybe they could think about like, if they're choosing, like when I was 12, I was like, I saw my future and I decided I knew I wanted to be imbibe on something, but I did not want to be my dad. I did not want to be drunk, and cannabis was the savior, and I chose to only smoke cannabis, and I did that until I was 19. I didn't try any other drugs. Until I got mushroom tea at 19. I was like, wow. All of a sudden, whoa, real drugs are great. But I mean, it saved me. And then if I ever got into other drugs, I would just go back to cannabis, and then I don't need them anymore. It's like it keeps me from getting hooked on dope or meth, or if I ever
I absolutely that definitely makes a lot of sense. I've had a lot of medical problems in my life, and for me, like, medical cannabis was a huge in dealing with like severe gastrointestinal problems and dealing with all kinds of other stuff. Like, again, I got a whole medication regimen. I see a psychiatrist, but part of that was always making sure is like, does my psychiatrist know that I've actually found cannabis to be extremely helpful? And I'm not trying to like, this has actually been something that has been sort of like a safe place where I can know that I won't go too far, and it won't like, again, it's like, obviously, it's like, cannabis doesn't have the calories of alcohol. It doesn't have like the alcohol leads so often like the killing the brain cells, destroying the liver cells. It doesn't have like, I feel like people who are on cannabis don't get the same kind of like anger and extreme sadness that a lot of people with alcohol can get. Like alcohol is, understandably, because alcohol is really easy to make. It is. Animals in nature sometimes get drunk just because they're eating fermented berries or fermented tree sap. So it's
crab
like
apples, right?
Exactly. So because alcohol is so easy to make, it's been such an accepted part of human culture. But alcohol is still also a physically habit-forming hard drug. It's like I always
a depressant. For a reason, it makes you depressed, right? I'm sorry,
and it's potent. It is power. I mean, like a person who is otherwise healthy but has a severe alcohol addiction who suddenly stops can die or become permanently injured from the withdrawals alone, and that doesn't happen with cannabis. That's just not like people who have to quit cannabis suddenly, they can get real irritable, but they're not going to literally have seizures and lose control of their bowels and die like people with alcohol in many cases have done, because it's the kind of thing where and again, like tying into the AA thing from earlier, like it's very dangerous for someone who has like a hard drug addiction like alcohol to just try and go cold turkey like that, because the body does become somewhat like they become sort of enslaved by the chemical, and going without it can destroy it.
Right. That I know that firsthand, because when I was 20 and I got sent to jail for selling cannabis to an undercover officer, my like room or whatever, the window could see the medical uh, wing or whatever.
Yeah.
And there was like ambulances every night. And I was like, what is that? I was asking my people around, and they're like, oh, that's alcoholics that
Yeah.
all of a sudden they're in jail and they can't drink. And all of a sudden they die. And same with barbiturates and,
Yeah, barbiturates are like that. Benzodiazepines, like Xanax, Valium. Like if someone's got a real bad addiction and they just discontinue it suddenly, they can die or become permanently disabled because it will just their nervous system won't be able to function properly.
Right. And the government's not going to give you alcohol to keep you alive.
Yeah, no, they're not. So it's that's some institutionalized negligence there, and that they're not going to give you something to deal with. It's like, so you're gonna cause withdrawals in someone that could kill or permanently injure them, and you're not going to give them anything to counteract that. Isn't that just like gross negligence at best, or like malpractice murder with like extra, like it's just murder with extra steps? Like, yeah,
exactly. And if you think, I mean, it is a death cult that runs our government. So, anyway, so you said you have a medical regimen. I mean, you don't have to talk about that, but when you tell your doctor that I use cannabis and I like it, do you get friction from the doctor who believes it's bad just because?
So that was actually one, it was important in me finding a psychiatrist was to find one who had a more culturally open view about that subject. So I was like, okay, I'll try and find like it's like maybe try and find a younger doctor and see what and also like there's just
you're just stabbing in the dark. Maybe a younger one will let me
no, but also like there's like one thing that I did find was useful is that like in some cultures it's more accepted as like a traditional thing. So I'm in Los Angeles. I am of a partial Iranian descent, and I know that in Iran, cannabis was much more tolerated as a normal part of, and so I was like looking like. It's like, okay, so it's like, I look for like, it's like maybe a doctor who's like, maybe like, a bit younger, not like someone who's like, Iranian or from another culture that understands like,
India or something. Right?
Yeah, like, yeah. So it was definitely helpful to find it takes work to find someone who is like culturally compatible with that. And so, yeah, like, I mean, they're not advertising like, hey, 420 friendly, but
they should though.
I mean, yeah, there are some who do that.
Really?
Good. There are some. I just felt like in my case, it's like, so I want someone who has like, it's like basically it's like I need someone who like my parents and like my other family members will approve of, but I also want to make sure that it's someone who doesn't think that I have like that I'm a dope fiend because I smoke cannabis. So so yeah. It's that cultural balancing act, trying to find someone that, and it's like, again, it's like, I'm very happy that I found someone who like, I can get who I can actually like get, like, I can pay to see them. And like, my parents will support me in seeing them and help me afford that, because definitely, yeah, the fact is that a lot of times access to really good medical treatment is basically cash gated. So so yeah, like certainly so many people who are not either, if they're not just in the right, if they're in a rural area or in maybe a less open-minded urban area, or if they can't, like, it can be very hard to find a psychiatrist or other medical professional who actually is in touch with the like the needs and habits of people in the modern day like that, and who understands that I'm not ruining my life by using cannabis. I'm using the cannabis so I don't ruin my life.
God bless you. Yes, dude.
Yeah.
Yes, dude. I'm sick of people, like my friends are just like, oh, you should probably quit that. I mean, like, oh, it's a crutch. Yeah, sure. But God damn, I'm emotionally broken. Like, let me do one thing. Like, come on, guys, you know.
There's also the fact that like if you have like a broken leg, crutches are kind of like not. It's like, you know, like people say that crutches are bad, but like crutches are a vital medical tool that are routinely used and have helped. Like a friend of mine broke his leg. He was on crutches. I wasn't like, those crutches are a crutch. It's like you need to be able to get around.
Right. Yeah. God bless you for saying that, because I don't want to feel guilty. You know what I mean? God.
Yeah, and that guilt doesn't help. If anything, it just encourages people to engage in more risky substance use. Like,
right. Yeah, that's one of the things. Like in my personal story, like I said, I went to jail when I was 20, but when they release you, they give you like parole and they make you drug tests and shit. But when I was like, before I went to jail, I was on probation, and I wanted to get high, but I don't like alcohol, and that's the only one that you can get drunk, and the next day it's not, you know, in the system.
It leaves your system like that.
Exactly. I mean, besides mushrooms and like LSD.
But like it's the one that's easy to obtain that won't set off their sensors. Like,
right. So I wasn't doing cannabis because that stays in your, like, my probation officer thought that I was using because like I was still peeing dirty after like 8 weeks. He was like, dude, this is not people. How's this possible? Right. You know?
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know. My numbers keep going down. He's like, yeah, like, it's really, I wasn't using. But,
it's just like it's like there was a lot in my system. Okay. It takes time to filter out. Like,
dude, right. Yeah. But I ended up, because I couldn't do cannabis, I would just do the powdered drugs. And I got all hooked on that. And the government, they're like, you know, you can't do the one that's not really a drug and it's good for you, but you can do alcohol and heroin and, like, you know.
Yeah, no, there's all these perverse incentives. Like, I definitely remember there was a whole thing in I think it was in the US too, but definitely in Britain, where they had a whole thing of, there would be a bunch of people learned that we, you know, that terrifying fake weed stuff where it's just like weird. It's that weird chemicals like sprayed on potpourri and sold in like gas stations. And it's just, that stuff it's like, God only knows what those chemicals are, but those are not safe for human consumption. And so there would be people who would just be smoking like potpourri laced with random chemicals because they weren't allowed to smoke pot. And so they'd end up in like a 28 days later type rage zombie state when it's like you're dealing with some 28 days later type shit when you could be dealing with someone who's just a little bit stoned, but you're giving them an incentive to use something that won't show up on the drug screen.
Yeah, and that shit, that's like, depending on what brand you're getting, they put like all kinds of drugs in there.
It could be literally anything. There's no way of knowing.
Hallucinogens, like, I mean, uppers, downers, like, ugh. But yeah, that stuff is made in China, just like, you know, fentanyl used to be before fentanyl went out of style. Now they just want trank dope and shit. But like, you know, like everything, you can get anything in China, like whatever.
Oh yeah, no, people would just make it with any sketchy chemical that they could get their hands on, regardless of if that was a chemical that had been found to be too dangerous for humans or animals to consume. It's like, well, what do we do with the batch we made? We made a batch of this stuff. It's like, yeah, it'll probably kill you, but are we ever going to meet those people? No. Like, so it's like, there's it's like, and so it's putting money in the hands of people who are like that and genuinely don't care about the well-being of the end user, instead of, it's like, if you just had legal cannabis, none of that would be an issue. None of that would be an issue.
Yeah, really. I mean, if we just had legal all drugs, there would be no cartels in Mexico. I mean,
pretty much.
And now, like, Oregon is going backwards. They re-legalized some drugs, like, because they were like free for all, like Portugal and the rest of them. Some of them that are like, you can have whatever you want. But then, I mean, really, like, you can't control people. I mean, I don't know what it is.
Yeah, no, so it definitely is like, because with stuff like cannabis, it seems pretty easy. I think that cannabis should probably be legal, worldwide. Right. With stuff like crystal meth, or like, say, if like, it's like, I don't necessarily think people should be able to sell PCP to whoever they want to. It's like, okay, that's like, I don't know. So I end up more kind of like in the middle with like, okay, there should probably be regulations on like, you probably shouldn't be able to like become like imagine like a pharmaceutical company that works like an alcohol company and just gets rich off selling meth to people and using it to basically enslave. It's like, okay, so that could end up in a bad situation, but I definitely don't think the way we're handling things now is right. But with the really hard drugs that can really mess up people's lives, I'm not exactly sure what the answer is there, because it's like, well, I don't think that should necessarily be as legal as alcohol, because it's like, I don't know. Like, do I really want that many more tweakers? Like, is that really a good thing?
Yeah, good point. And the more high they get, they see the shadow people and shit. Then they start getting talked to by these non-corporeal entities and shit. Like, So stuff like that, it's trickier with things like cannabis and certainly most psychedelics, like LSD, with psilocybin, with mescaline, with DMT. I certainly think those things should be regulated and sold in a legal, like, you should be able to buy those like for purity, not like regular, maybe like 21
again, similar to what they do with alcohol. There should be there should be like FDA regulations
standards
where it's like,
of like whatever,
is this safe? Is this consistent? Like, it should be treated like any other trade
and
good.
Really the market can create that without a government deciding. Like the market can be like, look how pure it is. Just like, some companies are like, yeah, we're organic, but these, these are, cage-free eggs, but our eggs are pastured, and like, it's even more level of purity, and that's like, so the market will create that. We don't need a government to
definitely. The government doesn't need to create it. The government can do a lot to get in the way, though. If they don't want it to happen, they can do a lot to prevent it from happening. So it's usually easier to do these things if the government's at least nominally on board.
That's true. Yeah, look at all of the tests that they have to keep doing to see if cannabis is safe, right? Like, they still got all these tests to do, and like, we're just waiting, guys. Like, sooner or later they'll take it off the schedule. Like, man.
Yeah, but definitely, even with all the testing and the taxes, I still prefer the legal system to how it was before. I like being able to just go into a store and buying it like a normal consumer item, and being able to walk past a police officer with an ounce of cannabis in a bag and have that not be an issue anymore. Like, I'm very glad that at least in California, where I live, that is now a reality. And so I think that would be a good sort of model for a lot of things, but not every drug, but for a lot of drugs.
Right. I guess I think every drug's a good idea to legalize. I mean, I don't think that we need anybody to, because really, like, I mean, if you own your body, everybody can do with their body as they choose. And that's kind of where I'm coming from. But then I get what you're saying with the danger. And I have this conversation a lot with people, because there is an inherent fear of more tweakers, but really they're already there. Like, all the tweakers are there. And if you can go into a store and get cocaine, half the tweakers aren't going to be tweakers anymore. They're going to be doing a cocaine instead.
I mean, I guess it's the issue of like, I do have like the personal belief that people should be. It's like, we shouldn't be telling people what to do with their own bodies, what they do. It's like, we shouldn't be telling people what to do in their own. But then I just get a little bit nervous. It's like people will say, well, do you want like this thing that actually could happen? It's like, I guess I don't want that, but I'd like people to have more freedoms. I mean, like,
right. Exactly. But I mean, that could happen anyway. I mean, like, it's
it's hard to find a balance.
Drugs are illegal now, but then the government, Biden's government at least, or what, I mean, I'm not a left-right guy, but I mean, the government gives crack pipes and clean needles and
like harm reduction type stuff.
Right. And it's like, if they allow us to do clean drugs properly, then they're not going to harm themselves. Like, and if they're not told that they're a piece of crap, and I should
like it's again, it raises good. It's hard to know what the exact answers are, but definitely the sort of the prohibitionist impulse is not the way to go. Yeah,
right. And like the prohibitionist way has imprinted the minds. Like my mother was having cancer, and I tried to convince her. It took a lot to convince her to try cannabis, and she got the Rick Simpson oil, like I told her, and, indica, good stuff from the store or whatever in Massachusetts. And her doctor didn't approve.
Oh,
he's like he's a chemo doctor.
So that's...
Dude, and like chemo has like maybe, percent chance of success is like 5 or some shit.
It varies in the type of cancer, but yeah.
I guess, yeah, but it really it damages all cells.
The goal of chemo is to kill the cancer before it kills you.
Right. But meanwhile, the cannabis cell still has a THC receptor.
Yeah.
And when the THC hits that receptor, it kills the cell. It's naturally anyway. So it was tough for me to convince her, and then her doctor didn't want it, so she could run to the safety of him to prove to me, like, I don't need that. And it's so hard for me because like I wanted her to be healthy, and it's tough because that was imprinted on her. And
absolutely. It's hard to break that conditioning that people get, where it's like, whether again, like Elvis, where they have this idea of these are good drugs and these are bad drugs, the kind that the kind that I would always get from my doctor, which might be a lot more habit forming. These are dangerous. These are good drugs, but these drugs, even if they're pretty benign, I'm not getting them. It's like, I'm not getting them from the traditional source. So it is. Yeah.
Even if they'll save your life.
It's sad that people get conditioned to believe things that way.
It's really, I pray for people.
Absolutely.
Oh man, I've had you for a good 2 hours. This is wonderful.
This has been great. Yeah.
Is there anything that you want the listeners that we didn't maybe talk about that is main thing that you want to say or whatever? Maybe you forgot something?
I think we got to most of the stuff. Certainly the thing about drugs being tools, that's one of my big takeaways. But another big takeaway though is that I really just I always thought that, I knew people who would say history is kind of boring. And it's like, history is everything that anyone's ever done. It's like, if you're saying that's boring, maybe you're focusing on the wrong parts. But history is so much. And so my joke was listen, my book is not encouraging people to do drugs per se. My book is a gateway drug to learning.
I love that. Wow, that's so beautiful. The gateway drug to learning. Everyone needs to get this book. And where can they find this? And is there a website where they can go to get this directly from you? Is it better for you?
So my publisher is Penguin Random House, and so
good.
And so Penguin Random House, they have a clearinghouse page. I think it's like prh.org or something, human history on drugs. I forget but it's there. So their page has a list of everywhere you can get it. So obviously you can buy my book at big retailers like Amazon or Barnes and Noble. But if you want to support your local independent bookstore, you can check on the PRH website, and they'll have a list of everywhere it's available. So if you want to support your local mom and pop place or the local, that's where you should go to see if you want to do that. And, but if you don't mind feeding the corporate behemoth and boosting my numbers up, then you can also buy it on Amazon or Barnes and Noble. And in all seriousness, Barnes and Noble has been great to me. They keep putting my book on display everywhere. I keep getting all these fun pictures.
It's nice.
I know, right?
Really,
they love to show it off and they love to sell it. So it's like I'm happy with anywhere that is selling my book. But yeah, if you want to to make sure to patronize your independent local bookstores, the clearinghouse page should be a good place to look.
And if your bookstore doesn't have it, they can get it from Penguin and just ask, right?
I think so, and certainly it's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, any major retailer.
But I mean, if you want to give to your local store down the street,
that's always a great thing.
To just bring it up, and also get 2 copies and bring one donated to the library.
I know, right? Yeah, that is a great idea. No, if people want to buy it from the local small place and they don't have it, absolutely feel free to ask about it there. I would love to get my book to more people in more bookstores to a wide as audience as possible.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's the goal. And the gateway to history is really where it is, because everybody loves drugs. But how does how does drugs relate to this thing that, public school made me not like it. Public school made me hate books, and but this book looks fun, and it really is fun. And it just it's one after another of just really interesting stories, little vignettes on little moments of history that really are striking, and it's great that you had them recorded and all put together.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. And the links will be below. I will make sure to find this prh.org link and put that below, as well as the Amazon and so on.
Yeah.
And if you're doing a number 2 book, or if you ever have any ideas that you want to bring to the fore, definitely come and talk to Sean McCann here.
Absolutely.
This has been a great conversation.
Yeah, this was a true pleasure. A lot of fun being here.
God bless you, man. Thank you so much for being here.
And you as well, man. Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. And thank you, listeners, for being here as well. And we will see you next time on Wake the Dead.